Hey friends, today we're going to make cooked water. So what is cooked water and why on earth would I ever want to do this? So in Ayurveda, there's a practice of cooking your water, which we call Ushna Udika. And Ushna means hot and Udika is a word for water. And if we think about why we would cook our water from a practical standpoint, it's pretty clear that thousands of years ago in India, you would want to boil your water, and we still do it today to create potable water. So we can remove or kill any pathogens that might be in the water. But there's a couple other reasons why we would want to do it as well. Water's innate qualities are heavy and cold. So think about water, it falls heavily out of the sky. It falls to the bottom of a jar. It falls to the bottoms of lakes, the bottoms of oceans. So its desire, its qualities is to move downward. And it's also cold. And the only way that it becomes warm is if we add an external heat source. So a stove, or cooking it over a fire, or adding the sun to warm up the water. And so by adding heat to the water, we change it from being cold and heavy to being warm and light. And there's actually science to prove it. So my friend Steve, he did an experiment for me. I told him about cooked water, and because he's a science teacher and has a lab, he was able to do an experiment of cooking water and what actually happens. So he did 3 different experiments. And for the first experiment, he cooked 66 milliliters of water. So what he did is brought this amount, this jar, this bottle of water to a boil. So 66 milliliters of water to a boil. And he immediately capped it. And then he brought a second 66 milliliter bottle of water to a boil and capped it 7 hours later. So it was left to the open air for 7 hours. And then he did a third bottle of water, brought it to a boil, 66 milliliters, and capped it 17 hours later. And what he wanted to determine is how much of the gas was actually released from the water, and then how much comes in if it's left uncovered. So what he discovered was that this 66 milliliter bottle of water, the gases released was 4.2 milliliters worth, or 6.4%. So 6.4% of the gases, which are nitrogen and oxygen, those 2 gases are considered heavy gases, are released in the boiling process. And when he capped it, that level remained. No gases returned back to the water. And when left uncovered for 7 hours, 1.5% of the gases did return, and strangely, only 1.4% of the gases returned after 17 hours. So how does this translate into an actual amount of water that you might drink? Because no one's going to drink 66 milliliters of water. So this is 1 liter of water. If we use the same math applied to 1 liter, what we know is that 6.4% that's cooked out translates into 66 milliliters of water. So when you cook this amount of water, you're releasing this amount of gas. That to me is awesome. So science is proving what Ayurveda has known for thousands of years. So let's go through the process of cooking water. It's pretty simple. You're going to fill a pot with water, and I do this every morning. So I get up in the morning, it's one of the first things that I do. I fill my pot with water, and I'm generally doing something else around the house while it's coming up to a boil. So I'll be making my bed, maybe doing some meditation, brushing my teeth, just taking care of some things. And then by the time I've taken care of the things I need to, the water's come up to a boil. Once the water has come to a boil, we'll either take it off the heat or turn down the heat. And what I do is I take 1 cup for my morning cup of water, and then I decant some into an insulated thermos. This way I have hot water that I bring with me to work. And then the rest, I just put the cover onto the pot so I can keep all of those gases out of the water, referring back to experiment number 1. And then when I come home, I have cooked water, and it's just as beneficial at room temperature as it is if it's actually hot off of the stove. And so what you experience with cooked water is water that's easier to digest, it's lighter, it takes the heavy quality out of it, it's warmer, it takes the cold quality out of it, and all the gases have been released for easier digestion. So here's to cooked water and happy digestion.